Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Motorhead Hunting and Outdoors. Well, I went up the range again yesterday and worked on my hand loads and to see if we could find a really nice load for my Remington 700 SPS Varmint. And we managed to find two really nice loads. One a lower velocity load and one a little bit higher velocity. Don't know exactly what the velocity is yet. I'm going to and make a couple of loads at both these loads. I'll show you in a minute, and shoot them through a chronograph and track and see what sort of velocity we're getting. So anyway, I'll start off with. We started out with 40.3 grains. Now I'm shooting the 155 grain Hornady AMAX using Lapua brass and Winchester large primers and Winchester 748 powder. So anyway, we started out the minimum, which was 40.3 grains of powder, and we stepped up in half grain increments. So my next step up was 40.8, and straight off the bat we got a .942 group with the 40.3 grains, so under an inch, still at 100 yards. As we went up to 40.8, we dropped down a little bit more to a .802 group, which I'll show you there. Go. So not a bad group out of the factory stock, factory rifle straight out of the box. But anyway, we stepped up from there to 41.3 grains, and then from that again up to 41.8. And as we went up to 41.3, the group moved out again to 1.289 inch group, and that step up to 41.8, we managed to get a .322 group at 100 yards. So that was our first real success. A little bit lower velocity than the other group that I'm about to show you in a minute. But there we go, guys. That's out of the factory. As you can see, you know, we've gone from a 1.2 inch group at 41.3 grains to a you know, basically a quarter inch group at 41.8. Anyways, we step up to the next weight, which is 42.3, and then 42.8. Mind you guys, I was letting the barrel cool in between these groups and cleaning between groups. So okay, our next group at 42.3, we started to come back down again at a group of .972, and then as we went up to 42.8, which is pretty much just up a few hundredths of a grain up from that load that I shot that 3/4 inch group last week at 42.5 grains. So you know, it's pretty good. We got a .622 of a group out of the 42.8, so you can see a natural trend. It's starting to come back in again, and that's sort of where we're getting to there. And then we hit the second magic load at 43.3 grains of powder, and we got a .321 of a group. So pretty much just a Mickey hair smaller group than the lower velocity. Seeing where we're shooting at a longer range, we want a little bit more velocity. So we're gonna run these, both of the, probably half a dozen of each of one of these loads. This load and the other load previously, and just shoot them through a chrony and try and track and see what sort of speeds we're getting out of them from there. Anything after this group turned to shit. It just got widened and opened and widened further and further and further for every step up we went from there. So but this is the 43.3 grains group. That bottom hole is actually 2-in-1 with one above it. So you know, I may have even pulled that shot, so you know, that could be even better again. So there you go, guys. That's the group there out of that. So like I said, I'm going to load some loads of those, and the other one I think it is 41.8 grains, and shoot them for a cronny and see what we come up with. Anyway, when we stepped up from there, guys, we went from 43.8. We kept going up in half grain increments, so I won't keep going through the groups. Like I say, they get worse. But basically, the next group up was a 1.107. From that, we shot a 1.212 up to a 1.637, and to the maximum load of a 2.167. So you know, as we went up way up into the max loads, our accuracy went all out to hell. So pretty happy to have a choice between two loads, a not so hot load and a little bit hotter load. So well, I'm pretty happy with that. We'll do a little bit more development on those loads later on down the track. On my main projectile I'm going to be using for longer range is actually going to be a 168 grain. So I'll be doing more development with that once this rifle's done. The 155 I plan on using, you know, for varmint and whatnot shooting. You know, probably, you know, use on the occasional deer, but mainly the 168 I plan on using, you know, like your pigs, deer and goats and that sort of thing. So, you know, I want something that's got a little bit more weight behind it for those sort of animals, that sort of hunting. So anyway, sitting here today, I thought my bedding compound and stabiliser compound should be showing up in the next couple of days. So I thought, bugger it, I'll pull my barrel action out of the stock, and I'll start prepping the stock ready for the bedding compound and the stabiliser compound. So anyway, guys, I wasn't going to do the video on showing the whole entire process, purely because this process took me around about 2 hours to do. So you know, 2 hours worth of video, you guys watching me sitting there and keying holes into my stock, it wouldn't be all that exciting. So I thought I'll just explain what I've done without, you know, sort of sitting there and doing it for a full 2 hours and you guys watching me for a full 2 hours. So anyway, but first of all, before you do that, before you even take your bottom metal out of your stock, the first thing you want to do is you want to take yourself a pencil, okay, and you want to turn around and come from the rear here at your tang, and just run a pencil line along the length of your action, all the way up to about as far as you want the bedding to finish, which is where we're just starting to get that little bit of a taper, and then it starts to kick down even further. That's where my bedding's going to come to, purely because this is a much heavier barrel, so you want a little bit of front barrel support to so that you know you haven't got too much stress on your action. And so anyway, that's where the bedding's going to finish. And if you come around to the back, you also want to follow around the back of the tang, and that will give you a height reference point at the back of your tang for where your bedding's going to finish and where it's going to sit. But anyway, we'll take the barrel action out of the stock, and I'll show you what we've done to prepare the stock ready for the stabiliser and bedding compound. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got my die grinder out, and I've keyed right into this section here. If this camera will ever focus, thank you. Yeah, I've keyed into here about 1.5 mil deep. Now you can do a rear and a front bedding job if you like, by just turning and doing this to the tang and to the front section here. To the front, we're just behind the recoil lug section. You know, you can do that, just that section, sorry, this section here, and the tang section at the back, and that would do you quite fine if you really wanted to. Seeing that there's no aluminium pillars in this, it's all plastic, and you know, we want to build this thing up with as much strength as we can get. I'm going to do a full length bedding job, so with that you need to start keying out in around your your bolt lock section in around your the top of your magazine well there. You know, and the same thing on the other side. You want to do the same there. Start keying into it all the way along. Okay. Now, when you start to Dremel this out, or you know, die grind this out, you want to do the same. You want to go about 1.5 inches, and the easiest way to do it, and you need to leave yourself a height reference point. So to leave yourself a height reference point here, this rib here, you are not going to touch this rib whatsoever. Do not touch it. That is where your stabilizing is going to stop. Your bedding is actually going to stop about here somewhere, but your stabilizing is going to stop here. You don't want any of the stabilizer going down into your recoil lug section, although you do want to fill this void here, the other void here, and the voids either side with your stabilizer compound. Now you want to fill that up to it's just below the top of the edge of the lines here of where your actual main mount, your floor plate screw goes through. You want to sit, just put enough stabilizer in there to sit just below it, because part of your bedding compound is going to leach over into there anyway, and fill those voids and make it a bit stronger around that section. So that's what you want to do. Now that's for the bedding section of the stock. Now for the stabilizing of the stock, you want to get a hot iron, a hot you know, gas torch, or I just used an old soldering iron, cheap soldering iron, and basically just heated it up and, you know, keyed into the stock all the way through. Now once you've done that, when you fill up the stock with the stabilizing compound, it's only going to come as high as you're only going to fill it to as high as these points just here. Where are we? To the top of, pretty much to the top of the rib there. That's as far as. So if you manage to turn and to hit the rib on the top there, don't be worried about it, because once that's filled to the top of that line, you're basically going to let it cure for 2 days. This is why it's such a slow process. You're going to let it cure for 2 days, and then once it's fully cured, you're going to take a bit of wood dowel, bit of sandpaper, and you're going to flatten out all those anyway. So you know, you've got a nice flat curvature all the way through. Then once you've done that, now with these stocks, when you take them apart, you'll see there's like a little tang here on either side. It's risen. That's actually the pinch point that holds the barrel in place on the standard stock, and you know, it usually supposedly causes the problems with accuracy with these stocks. But I mean, like I say, I've had that problem with mine, but I'm doing it just to cure any first cold ball shot problems, and for any, you know, just to make sure we have no other troubles out at long range, which sometimes you know, from varying service to service you're shooting on can sometimes happen. So we want the barrel free floated. This barrel was touching at pinch points at these individual ribs all the way back to the recoil lug. So we've now gotten rid of those. You know, once we fill this full of the stabilizer, it's hardened, then we'll go through and we'll reshape the inside here, reshape all of the edges here, so I'm not too worried about. There's a couple of little marks there where we've bumped there, but that'll all be reshaped anyway, so that's not a problem, not too worried about that. Anyway guys, so in the next couple of days, when the bedding compound and the stabilizing compound turns up, I'll do a video on pouring the stabilizer in, and then once it'll probably be 3 separate videos. I'll probably show you the you know, mixing and pouring the stabilizer in, and then once that's set, I'll then show you what I'll be doing to prepare the stock. You know, cleaning it. You know, cleaning out all the rough edges through here, so to allow enough room for the barrel channel, and then I'll go straight in from that into doing the bedding compound and doing the actual bedding of the action itself. So I'll do that in probably 2 separate videos. But anyway, guys, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, favourite, and share with your friends, and you know, and subscribe. It always helps. So anyway, guys, until the next videos, which will be a couple of days, take care, and safe and happy hunting.